Hi, today I'm going to talk about inheritance tax planning. It's a major area of financial planning, but in particular I'm going to focus on two big misconceptions that there are out there that most people seem to have, and they have the potential to significantly undermine the success of your planning. So the first misconception is most advisors seem to spend time trying to find the perfect solution, single solution for a client to mitigate inheritance tax. And I think that ends up exposing clients completely unnecessarily to risks. And the second one is one of the major areas for mitigating inheritance tax, life assurance in trust. People fail to understand how it actually operates and therefore don't really understand what the pros and cons of it are. So firstly, the first misconception, planning for IHT. There is gifting, which you can either do directly or into a trust. There is life assurance, which would normally be written into trust for the benefit of your beneficiaries after you die. So let's just take life expectancy as a major unknown for almost all clients when they initiate inheritance tax planning. We all know we're going to die, but we don't know whether it's 3 years from now or 30 years from now. Now, if you invest into a gifting-based solution, or you do gifting, you have to survive 7 years if the gift is direct in order for it to fall outside of your estate. So any death before 7 years, and you would have some kind of inheritance tax liability would still be accrued on your estate. Similarly, if you have a very large estate and you want to use trusts, there will be taxation that's applied to those large gifts. So you can't really escape by using trusts for large estates without incurring another problem. So gifting has a problem of it's limited in size, if you use a trust certainly, and you're exposed to dying early. Now life assurance is completely different from that. So in the life assurance you set up a regular monthly premium, that's the fixed amount, broadly speaking, simplifying it, and then that you have a guaranteed payout at the time of your death. Now, at the time you set up the insurance, it's not known how long you'll live. The payments every month are fixed. If you stop making them, the life assurance policy will become void. So the longer you live, the more payments that you've made, and the less the return you've made, the less the value of that planning. So if you end up living like Major Tom over 100 years, actually it's probably a lot more than was baked into the returns profile of the life assurance policy. You'll probably end up with a long-term liability of life assurance premiums and quite a poor return. Conversely, if you were to die unexpectedly 3 months after setting up the plan financially, that would have been a very successful thing to do. So hopefully you can see that gifting and life assurance in trust, actually to a certain extent they've got differing characteristics, and in many cases combining them is a way that you can control this great unknown, which is life expectancy. So generally I'm quite anti people trying to find one solution and that being the perfect solution for people, because you're always going to leave, a bit like whack-a-mole, you'll leave some kind of risk uncovered which might be unpleasant for clients or for you if you are an individual thinking about inheritance tax planning. The second misconception is about life assurance in trust, which I talked about earlier. So people tend to refer to this as insuring your tax liability, which drives me bonkers really, because it just really oversimplifies what it does, and it leaves people not understanding how the planning actually works. So rather than explain why insuring your tax liability is wrong, I'll explain in the interest of time what you're actually doing. If you think about it, you have a monthly premium that's being paid. So effectively you're taking money from your hands today, your bank account or your savings and investment portfolio, and you're taking that and you're paying it to an insurance company. And the insurance company then invests it themselves to try and make a return on it. The insurance company would assume that you live for a certain period, probably roughly about the average life expectancy if you're an average kind of person. So if you were Mr. or Mrs. Average and you were to live for the average time, you would have paid the insurance company premiums that they would have invested rather than you invested, and then the insurance company will then pay you a lump sum at the end. And really what you've done is you've transferred assets from your own name and you've transferred them to be paid into a trust payable after your death. And it's if you live for an average life expectancy, it's very neat, quite simple, and easy to understand. But of course, when you think about it in that way, you can really understand why, if you do live for an extra 15 or 20 years, life assurance in trust could become punitively expensive, especially if you set it up later in life. So an extra 15 years, if you're only expected to live 10 years, could be ruinous for the financial outcome of the planning. If you started it when you were 40, of course, it would be quite different. So those are my two big misconceptions. One is the need to diversify your routes to inheritance tax planning and the way that that can really improve the mix for you and achieve your goals more effectively and cover off risks better. And secondly, to stop people talking about life assurance as if you're insuring any liability. You're really just transferring assets from your own name, into a trust which you can direct towards your beneficiaries after death. But don't forget about life expectancy risk. So I hope you found that interesting and useful. If you have any questions about any area of tax planning, or especially inheritance tax planning, please get in contact with me. I'll be delighted to help you. As always, when I'm talking about things around investing, just be aware when you are talking about investments, your capital is at risk. And lastly, in the bottom of the screen here, you should see a Flying Colours logo. If you're interested in this content and you want to see it regularly, please click on that and you'll have the opportunity to subscribe. Thank you.